Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Lucas Panzica. Titans made some moves on Wednesday, trading wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins to the Chiefs for a fifth-rounder that could become a fourth-rounder in 2025. The team also dealt linebacker Ernest Jones IV to Seattle in exchange for linebacker Jerome Baker and a fourth-round pick. Both of those moves have been made official by the team. Titans traveled to Detroit on Sunday. Calvin Ridley did not practice with a foot injury Wednesday. L'Jarius Sneed did not practice with a quad, and Will Levis was limited with the shoulder injury. Titans coaching staff saying it will likely be Mason Rudolph starting at quarterback for the Titans in Detroit. Thursday Night Football is in Los Angeles tonight. The Rams host the Vikings at SoFi Stadium. Kickoff is at 7:15. Westwood One coverage starts on The Zone at 7. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. If you want to get in on the conversation, we'll open up the phone lines to hear about what your opinion is on if the Titans are building the team the right way. And at 2:20 p.m., we'll be joined by Ben McKee of GoVols247 for his weekly check-in with the University of Tennessee Volunteers that are heading into their second bye week of the year. So we'll talk to him about the growth of Nico, that Alabama game, and all that jazz. So I want to start off, though, with a question that was posed by Lucas Panzica on the prior show that I thought was a good way to frame this whole losing the locker room, the fractures, and all that kind of stuff that could happen if you post or if you go with Will Levis. So here's the question, Blaine. Do we really think that the locker room is going to be fractured if they choose to go over to choose a healthy Will Levis over Mason freaking Rudolph? Is that where we're really at? Let's be real. Do we really think that you're in high alert? Because at this point, you've kind of sent the signals as a team where you're at, where you think you're at. 1-5, you sell off a couple of pieces, probably a couple more pieces on the way. But we saw what Mason Rudolph was. Maybe Mason Rudolph pulls off a miracle game and this changes the whole subject. But let's be real. Are we really going to is Brian Callahan and the Titans really going to lose the locker room over Mason freaking Rudolph?
Because he's really good at what he does. There's a lot of people saying that, and I get what you're saying. There is some form of a fracture, but in the pros, it doesn't matter what the organization decides to do for their decision or the coaching staff, the head coach. It's really sad to say, but it's like, that's none of our business. I'm assigned to do a job and I'm paid to do a job. And all I have to do is worry about doing my job. That's not to say you're not being human and say, dang, man, why don't they try the other guy, or that guy playing like crap, or, when you start, doing all those things, that means, you probably, need to watch, where you are as far as your character, because those things are out of your control. So ultimately, you got to just do your job. And if it pisses you off, then go play even better. You can't do anything about it except when you guys come together out on the field and play together as a unit, you got to support one another. That's pretty much it. It's sad to say, but the real part of the element of sports that brings everybody together, the people, even the fans, is not really in reality what goes on in a locker room as far as that's concerned. So it's a straight business, even though it's an entertainment business. Everybody is paid to do a certain job, and if the head boss decides to go another direction in the other side of the company, you have no say-so in here and then at Cumulus Media or anywhere else in any other company. So it's the same. You may not like it. Yeah. But you may talk amongst the people who you're close to at your firm, but you don't have decision-making process. And you got to believe that they're doing what's best for the organization. And guess what? Even if you don't like it and it's affecting you, let's say you're a defensive player and as we're talking about the quarterback, what can you do besides do your job? And guess what? try to hang in there and do your best and be the best ability and version of yourself and with your defense until it just runs out. Yeah, is it going to affect you ultimately? Yes, but you're not part of the equation that makes the decision. So it's really funny when people say that. I laugh really, Indiana. Guess what? That used to be how it is. I'm going to change that. Okay. That is how it is in college until now with the NIL. They are now getting a dose of what it's like to be in the NFL because now they're getting paid. So eventually it's going to creep into college sports because you're paying the second string quarterback more than the starting defensive tackle.
Yeah.
He is pissed. And guess what? He doesn't understand the business side of it. These are 18 to 22, or we could say 24 now. Guys who, are thinking about themselves. And that's what they've been trained to do is think selfishly because of social media and who likes who and who doesn't. So it's going to creep and it's going to fracture college teams. So get ready, coaches. And I'm sure they're already getting ready for it. I think this is one of the reasons why Nick Saban, there's a story out there, a year ago that Nick Saban was like, hey, man, the third string running back came in there talking about how much you going to pay me. And I'm like, well, you're not even really going to play. Right. He says, all right, then I'm out.
Yeah.
That's what the running back said.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised.
So he's like, dang, I'm going to pay you more than my pass rusher?
Yep.
No, I can't do it.
Yeah.
See, so it's going to happen all over the place, but in reality, and I get it on the premise, because it should be that way, but in reality, it's not.
Well, and listen, this morning, Coach Mack was on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Ramon echoed it before even Coach Mack, but they all agree with you, and I agree with you. And I think that's been the thing is like, these are still professionals. These are still players that are putting stuff on tape, players that are getting contracts, players that are getting paid. Like, and I can't really wrap my head around the idea right now that, man, players are really going to start infighting because they're not playing Mason Rudolph.
No. Here's what,
you know what I'm saying?
No, here's what really happens. They start playing as individuals. Yeah. Especially if we're talking about the situation with the Titans, if it happens. The defense who's playing okay, and the offense probably needs another quarterback or switch to Mason Rudolph or whatever they're trying to say here in this situation. They start playing as individuals. By week 10, if you have a stinky team, now that guy who has incentives in his contract, let's say for picks, he may take a little more risk. And if he gets beat for a touchdown, oh well.
Yeah.
That is what in reality
and it's not really about Mason Rudolph. It's more about the state of the team.
It's the state of the team.
Do you think that maybe in a situation like Joe Flacco and Anthony Richardson, where there's a clear divide between who can provide you the best way forward, and especially because they're sitting at a 3-3 record, maybe that's a situation to monitor? Or do you still hold tried and true to what you because like obviously nuance, right?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously in this situation is a little bit different than the Titans situation because we've seen both quarterbacks play and neither of them are lighting the world on fire right now. And sometimes that's out of their control. Sometimes it's them. But at the end of the day, like people who think this team's tanking, I don't think they're tanking. No. They're just bad. You know what I'm saying right now.
Yeah, you can't really tank in the league. What they do for tanking in the league, by the end of the season, week 10, 12, they start playing backups. But most of the part, you don't have a lot of backups. You have to actually play your guys. So it's not like you can tank, theoretically, like on purpose. Is tanking keeping Levis out there? Or is it if Mason Rudolph proves he can win a couple of games, especially against some good teams, and then you put Levis back out there, is that tanky? I would say it would be.
Yeah.
See? Mm-hmm. So I think, to your point, I don't know the coach situation, but what I can say is Flacco right now is a better quarterback, giving a better shot of winning. And if they're in the playoff hunt, them coming back to Richmond, which I think they are. I think I saw that.
They're like 3-3, if I'm not mistaken.
So they're hoping he continues, grows on the field. But that can eventually, if it becomes clear cut, that the other quarterback is better.
Yeah.
And guess what? Here's what I always laugh.
It's really not clear cut with this team.
Yeah. What I laugh about is when everybody was talking about Spears and Pollard. Yeah. And they kept on saying, oh, man, they're going to – like, no. What is dictated on who plays is the contract. We just signed Pollard to $7-8 million, and Spears is in his rookie deal. I think Pollard's going to play like
if you
70% of the time.
you spent a 1-year contract on Deontay Foreman for $2 million, then maybe you have some legs to stand on.
Right. Good point. Good point. So I think even in the Flacco, and I don't even know what Flacco's making, but I know Richardson was a top 5 guy. So you would think that that's kind of dictating we need to get him up to speed more so than actually winning games. If they believe they can make it to the playoffs, now it's their story. They are 3-3. So it's interesting what they will do. Will they have a quick trigger on Richardson? And then if they start him and then he doesn't play well, then not only the fan base, but the players be like, hey, man, what are we doing? Somebody, you got a leadership group that kind of can go to the head coach and the ownership group and then voice their opinion.
Yeah. Well, look at it this way. You talk about taking self-pride, going out there to play, to be the best version of yourself and all that kind of stuff. And that's why sometimes locker rooms are hard to fracture in that regard because everybody's a professional. Mm-hmm. And you kind of likened it to if, your CEO does something, right? Like if a CEO came down and renamed the show Poops McPoopface, this is going to be the best show called Poops McPoopface in the entirety of the national radio media market because guess what? If you can make a radio show called Poops McPoopface high in the ratings, you're going to get better opportunities, right?
That is
I wanted to see how many times I could put in Poops McPoopface into
without laughing, well, keep me from laughing. But that was good. Yeah, so that I get it though. It should be that way, but it is not. It's not that way.
And it's not. Not everybody takes the same level of pride that maybe the person next to him takes.
That's the problem I have when I was on a sucky team with the Oilers at the time when we went 2-14 and dismantled the team. It really burned me that some guys were, I would say, have, effort. Because you can control your effort. And that was one that just was a pet peeve of mine. And me running by guys I knew were faster than me really was insulting to me, and that burned me. So I'd get a little chapter on, behind my butt on that with them.
Yeah, there you go. We'll talk more about this and talk more about what really happened in the offseason and what conclusions should we have drawn looking by the actions of the Tennessee Titans and where we're all kind of getting the conversation wrong about this free agency class and about this regime. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone.
Stinky, stinky, stinky. Is that what was like the last time you had an auto repair shop? Service? Well, smelly, greasy old rags lying around all over the place. A countertop that you would not dare touch. Another thing that stinks is repair shops that keep your car forever and they're not honest. And they don't call you back when they say they will. Was that your last experience at a vehicle repair shop? Hey, it's Blaine Bishop to tell you about Eurofix. Eurofix takes the stink out of European auto repair. And at Eurofix, you get a free 15-minute no-wrench inspection with an estimate at every visit and not high-pressure sales tactics. At Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty and a free loaner car with every repair appointment. And you never pay dealer pricing. Located all over Tennessee, Eurofix is located in Franklin, Hundred Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, and now Mount Juliet. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX, or you can visit them online at myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com. But always tell them Blaine sent ya.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons is back, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors. 615-737-1045 if you want to talk Tennessee Titans and how they're building the team through the offseason and last offseason and beyond. Then, of course, we have the F&M Back chat on Zone TV, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook Live. It's already getting wild in that chat, that's for sure. It's a little, I would say, getting dangerous. Close to R-rated. So keep your eyes out of the chat. Make sure you're not reading all the comments without probably triple checking them. But Blaine, I kind of wanted to talk about some misnomers about what the Tennessee Titans did this offseason. Because I think we all did get swept up in the power of positivity when it comes to looking at these moves and what these moves really told us, free agency and the draft and all that kind of stuff. And it may take a little bit for me to get there, but I will get there. But first, I want to talk about what Chad Brinker and said this team's philosophy is on how to build a proper roster. So this is Chad Brinker talking about free agency and the draft and the roles they play in the offseason building of a roster.
Free agency is something that supplements your draft. You want to build the core of your roster, the core of your team through the draft. I mean, you look at some of the best teams in the league this year, whether it's Kansas City or San Francisco, who's getting ready to play in the Super Bowl, to what Baltimore and Detroit has done, the consistency in the Baltimore Ravens, and even from where I came from, Green Bay. I mean, that was the youngest team in the league this year, and they made a run. I mean, they gave San Francisco everything they had with a team, I think it was averaging about 24 years old as a roster. So that's the way it's a young man's game. I mean, you talk to some of these old coaches or even old players, they know this is a young man's game.
So it's a young man's game. He talked about how the players, you build through the draft, you supplement through free agency. He talks about the San Francisco 49ers, the Kansas City Chiefs are two teams that build through the draft and supplement with free agency. He said the same thing about Green Bay, Baltimore, and Detroit. And yesterday, Brian Callen said Detroit is built it the right way, a good model. They started off 0-10 with Dan Campbell, but remained patient with Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes, their GM. And so we've been preaching all week, patience and hope, but really mainly patience. We're not trying to give out too much hope, but just patience. And so I got into it with another little radio host, and he kind of withered away and quit talking to me. And then I got a couple people in the replies because I put out a graphic talking about San Francisco's start, talking about Detroit's start, and Kyle Shanahan and the San Francisco 49ers start. Rand Carthon has experience with a few of these. Brian Callahan had experience with the Cincinnati Bengals. The slow starts, the slow rebuilds. And every rebuild is different. The path to the rebuild is different, right? So I had a guy on Twitter, at Canadian Titan. He goes, if it requires patience, why did Rand and company trade for Snead, sign Ridley and him to both large contracts? None of the examples listed had moves remotely similar, and these moves set the rebuild back, not forward. So first off, I want to just clear the air. It didn't set anything back. Those signings did not set anything back. That trade did not set anything back. Will Levis has set the rebuild to a slower pace. And I think we need to start calling it a reset, because they are resetting the culture, the way they do things in the front office, the way they do things coaching and all that kind of stuff. Like, to me, it's a reset. And maybe there's no big difference to people between reset and rebuild, but I look at it like it's like Law and Order. They reset their casts all the time, right? Like they put in new lawyers, new cops all the time. So I kind of view it like that. There's new cops, new lawyers for this team.
What is the definition between reset and rebuild?
I knew you were going to ask that, so I said there maybe is no big definition. Right. So let's move off of the semantics.
The reason why I say that is because I can't remember when you played, what you've done a great job of playing, Brinker or whoever it was. It might have been Rand, where he said reset.
Yeah.
And only reason why I have a little bit of an issue there, that's them not pushing the panic button on the fan base by not saying rebuild. Because everybody knows
I think a reset is tougher than a rebuild myself. Because they're resetting everything. A rebuild is just like you're rebuilding the roster. They're resetting the whole structure of the team.
When you're talking to the fan base, what does rebuild and reset to them? Reset is kind of a soft play in the fans' view. And I'm realizing this too, because when they signed these players, I still didn't think I thought they were a middle of the road team where everybody else thought it was a playoff contending
A lot
team.
of the fans.
So it showed me personally how they thought, now we're going to make a run. And so I never thought that. I remember it was Bam who calls in all the time. He said, oh, man, we're playing. I said, I think we're probably middle of the road type team. So I could say they're underachieving. They're probably not middle of the road because of the quarterback play.
Yeah.
I would say that. And he's underplaying, and he's not even giving them what they thought he could. So he's regressed. And so that kind of set.
And that's what they kind of went over the whole thing. Is like they pretty much said, listen, we could be something if our young quarterback turns into one of the great young stars in this league. Right. And he didn't.
Right.
But my whole point, I'm kind of going through the free agency aspect of it, right? I'm going to try to let Will Levis off the hook a little bit and not go after Will Levis on this episode. We've done enough of Will Levis talk. So I responded to that question that, none of these moves set the rebuild, or these moves set the rebuild back. Why, if it's a rebuild or requires patience, let's say if it requires patience.
See, but wait. I just want to say that this is why I bring up the reset rebuild. They never said rebuild.
They never said rebuild. They said reset. Now, this is what they're saying.
I thought they should.
This is what this guy said.
I know. I'm talking about that guy. But I thought the organization should have, and they feared to say rebuild.
Well, I think a reset is way more difficult.
No, but it ain't. Me and you are different than the natural, normal fan base.
I'm trying to educate the fans.
Right.
So maybe the fans need to look up definitions themselves and bust out a dictionary.
I think they should admit
I know a large segment is University of Tennessee fans and they don't read, but, I get to dig in.
Right. No, I thought they were going to. I thought they should have said rebuild once they started with the transition of trading Bayer. Once you went down that road and then you knew Henry, whether you traded him or waited him, let him, finish his career here with the Titans as far as that season and his contract, it was already going to be a rebuild.
Yeah.
And then you got rid of the coach too. So it was going down that road because a lot of things needed to change and you were going in a different direction. So I think
I will say Chad Breger said building from the ground up, but that's not the same as saying what you're saying.
Right. That's what I'm getting. He was saying all the things around it, except they didn't want to say, it seems like they didn't want to say the word rebuild. Even though reset is actually more of what was really happening.
So signing good players to multi-year contracts is allowed in a reset or rebuild.
Right,
can we say that?
Yes.
Yeah, it's allowed. You can sign good players. You can trade for good players because this team didn't have good players.
You have to. Right. They had to.
And it didn't set it back at all. And you still want to field a competitive team as much as possible. They were trying to field a competitive team as much as possible. The quarterback has hindered a lot of that. Mm-hmm. The other teams I mentioned the Bengals, the 49ers, the Lions, went about it in different ways, right? So, there's different ways. Like the Bengals ended up using 77.3% of their cap space on the free agencies and the draft. So they used a large chunk of their cap space available to them. The 49ers traded for Jimmy Garoppolo, and they also signed Pierre Garçon to a 5-year, $47.5 million contract, which that's a bad contract, by the way. And they saved a lot of their cap space so they could extend Jimmy G following the 2017 season. So they did make their own moves in different ways. Mm-hmm. The Lions were actually up against the cap when they took over. So they traded away Matt Stafford, got Jared Goff and some picks and everything. And they essentially had no cap space in 2021 before they even got the Jared Goff contract on their books. Mm-hmm. They were at $12.5 million in cap space, Blaine. A rebuilding team. And they were very clear, to your point. They said they were rebuilding. Mm-hmm. And they went 0-10-1, right? They were not good that first year because of the cap space. To go one step further, Blaine, or actually I'm going to go a few steps further. The Tennessee Titans signed 18 free agents, and then they also traded for Snead and Jones in the big portion of free agency, right? Not talking about, they picked up Allie Gay or, they signed, this dude to fill up a back-end roster spot or anything on the 90-man roster spot. They had 18 free agents signed. 13 of those 18 were signed to one-year contracts. What does that tell you? That they're not. That tells you that those guys aren't in their long-term plans, but they have to field a team.
Right. Well, they're I call them stopgap players. They can get you by, hopefully enough where we're competitive, and that's what they had said the whole time. Yeah. Now, did anybody think they would be where we're at? No. I don't think anybody thought that in the organization based off of their moves earlier in the offseason. And no one would have predicted that. So I think they thought they had what they said they were, a competitive team, which they thought meant, oh, okay, we're going to be in a lot of games and we're probably somewhere in the middle of this thing. Yeah. Whether we squeak into the playoffs or we don't, I think we could handle that. But we must also see if we can develop our quarterback. And I think that's where they kind of missed the boat. And it was easy to miss there, and we don't know if he can still recover from there. Yeah. But the signs aren't showing, and then he's injured now. So I think they did all they could, to me, at the right point. I would have never, and I said this at the time, once you learn the extent of Snead's injury, I probably wouldn't have made that trade. I didn't know they can even get Ridley, I think is what I said at the time. But I thought they should go after a pass rusher, but there was not one that they could get available. I think they should have maybe targeted.
They would have had to change their order of operations.
Right. And so once they pivoted to Ridley, once they saw they had a shot. And those are the only two I could really question on what they did. And I really can't even question. No, the Snead one with the knee stuff, I thought would have scared me, especially if I'm giving up a pick.
Yeah.
So that's really the only one. Ridley, you hear that he had the drops. He's at Jacksonville, but he also was making splash plays. So you kind of say, okay, we can live with that. Not to the extent that he's done this year already, because he hasn't had the impact of the splash plays. But other than that, I can't really fault them for the moves that they made. I thought they were trying to be in the middle.
Where my thing is.
I thought they were trying to be in the middle of some of the teams that you talked about. The Lions, they were trying to build through the draft. They were also, just like the 49ers, trying to sign some free agents, not go over the top, but we need to help something to make us competitive. We got to have people come to the game.
If they didn't spend the money, Blaine, you know what everybody be saying right now?
They didn't spend the money.
Well, we don't know what Will Levis is because they didn't build around Will Levis.
No doubt. So now we know.
Yeah, so now we know. So going a step further, they had 44 players rostered before free agency began. Now, you obviously get that number up to 90 because, you have to have 9. You don't have to have 90, but you mainly go through 90. But only 18 to 20 of them we thought could possibly make the team. 18 to 20 of that 44. So that means you still have a ton of people that you have to sign plus the draft to make up a 53-man roster.
Right.
Like, they have to, they were in a position where they had the funds and they spent the money. And for those that are like, well, they spent $290 million. Okay, let me take it a step further. They're only on the hook for $171 million between the big free agent signings. They can get out of every free agent signing that they did for multiple years after 2 years, except for one. And that's Kenneth Murray, which you can get out after 1 year.
Yeah, because it's only a 2-year deal.
So even if it's a 4-year deal, they can get him out of them after 2 years.
Right. So they did a good job.
They did it smart.
Yeah, they did, because they took their risk and they said if it doesn't work out, we
can get out of it. Exactly. Which is what good GMs do.
I thought he's done it.
And can we talk about Calvin Ridley for a second? Because I got into this with a big. I'm very fired up about this, as you can tell, because I'm very big on good process. I think everything they did really was a good process, but had a bad result. And I got into an argument on Football and Other Efforts last night, so I was in the show, and it was getting late, so I didn't run with the argument because I could have gone longer and just really started yelling at Mike. But he said it was a bad process to get Calvin Ridley because they pivoted from Azeez Al-Shaair and Danico Autry to get Calvin Ridley. I said, well, no, that's a good process. They pivoted. Pivoting by the general manager is a good process. And what they did is they had a set budget for Danico Autry and Azeez Al-Shaair. Those guys got paid more. And they took that combined budget for those two players, added it to their wide receiver budget, and went out and got Calvin Ridley. And you can say all you want about Calvin Ridley as a player right now. He's not living up to his contract. Fully agree. Some of that's him. A lot of it is other issues around him. But at the end of the day, here are some of the players you could assign. Alex Erickson, Allen Robinson, Byron Pringle, Corey Davis, Damiere Byrd, David Moore, Demarcus Robinson, Devin Duvernay, Devontae Parker, DJ Shark Jr., EQ St. Brown, Greg Dortch, Greg Ward, Hunter Renfrow, Jakeem Grant, Josh Reynolds, Keelan Cole, James Washington, Laviska Shenault, Mike Williams, Miles Boykin, Odell Beckham Jr., Quez Watkins, Olamide Zaccheaus. None of those guys are going to do anything for you. And you're in the same spot that you are now, then you're going to be complaining, and Darnell Mooney, and you're going to be complaining that Tennessee Titans ignored wide receiver. Calvin Ridley was clearly by far and away the best wide receiver in this draft, and they pivoted to get him, to make him a priority, and they went and got him. And that was a good process move with a bad result.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know that they pivoted from Danico.
Well, that's how they described it, sort of.
And the linebacker. And I was, Danico, that was the best performance he had put in a season in his entire career with as far as his numbers and sack numbers. Azeez, to me, was you could find somebody just as good as him. It wasn't like he was some elite player or anything like that. Solid player, though. Solid starting player in the league. So I didn't have any issue with them pivoting towards Ridley, who's a splash play. And one thing all they had to do is, and this happens a lot when you play a team twice, he scored 3 touchdowns versus Titans when he played them in one game.
Yep.
That's very rare and far between when that happens in an NFL game. So they had it right there for them. So I didn't have an issue with them pivoting, going towards that route. With really now they say, okay, now we got a big play guy. Here's the question that I bring up. It has nothing to do with any of the moves, and I said this earlier in the week, and that is, did you put the right pieces to the puzzle that makes everything work? And that's where I think it's unpredictable.
Yeah.
So you don't know that, because here's what you've learned over time, at least if you had experience as a GM, and he's been around a lot of GM. Sometimes you could pick the perfect pieces to the puzzle and it still doesn't work for whatever reason, whether it's scheme, system, players don't mix well together, don't play off one another, quarterback play, whatever it is. And I'm just talking about offense. And that just kind of happens. And I really believe that happened, because when you see D-Hop chain mover, Ridley vertical threat, in your mind, theoretically, you go, this is a perfect fit with big arm Levis and the running and the versatility of Pollard and Spears with Chig and Wiley. You say, I think now we become an offense where we can hit people from different angles for different games, whether we're hitting the tight ends on the short passing game, or chain moving D-Hop, and then you added Boyd, and then you still have first rounder. Maybe he could blow up in a game or two that can make a difference maker in this. So theoretically, I thought that was all good. I couldn't say that it was bad.
No, I mean,
it was unpredictable.
Look at where Brian Callahan's come from. Not just the Bengals, right? The Bengals made it work with Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. All kind of different wide receivers, right?
They did.
So they tried to recreate that, albeit a little bit older, but they pretty much tried to recreate that. But let's take it a step further. Denver. Demaryius Thomas, Eric Decker, and Emmanuel Sanders there. I mean, he's been part of offenses that can feed and make all these things work. I think at the end of the day, it's maybe a little bit of there's just too much newness, because I think that could be it. You got several people learning possibly a new scheme outside of Tyler Boyd. You got several people trying to learn how to play with each other. This also includes defense as well. But it kind of feels like there may have been too much newness on this team at once. And so this is kind of like a growing pain of a team together.
Then who are your leaders?
Yeah. And also, like, all these pieces should work theoretically, but the main piece that is the engine is not working.
Right.
And that is the issue. That it all comes down to that issue for me. For what this team did, I agree with people who say, well, they kind of straddled the line. Well, they kind of were forced to. Because they didn't have a team. They didn't have a lot of pieces to build around anyway. So you had to find some veteran pieces that you could hopefully build around for the future. Cornerback one, pretty important, right? I mean, the cornerbacks that they had going into free agency were Caleb Farley, Roger McCreary, Trey Avery, Tay Gowan, Anthony Kendall, and Eric Garrett. They ended up with Chidobe Awuzie, L'Jarius Sneed, and then they drafted Jarvis Brownlee Jr., and we just saw Darrell Baker Jr. go in for him as well. I think those were the prudent moves to make for the Tennessee Titans.
Available because of free agency first before the draft, so you could then implement what was from your free agency and then predict kind of where you were going to go in the draft.
Yeah.
I thought those were... at least Band-Aids, to get with the scheme and the system that they were going to be running, which is an attacking style, press in your face, cornerback style player. And that's what Brownlee is too, by the way. You see how he's up there? He competes, man, at the next level. So They put the right pieces for that unit. That's what. Here's how you know when pieces work, and they're not a great defense. I keep saying they're not a great defense. Well, they're number one in some category.
Yeah,
because they had the right pieces to the puzzle on defense. They got that right. See, they got most of that right. And so then now, just imagine if that worked on the offensive side, which is much harder because of timing, rhythm, and flow. And it always, and I keep saying this, and you do too, it always goes back to the quarterback.
It always goes back to the quarterback.
It just never fails.
Listen. Right tackle can share some blame, and edge can share some blame. I'm not saying this was the perfect offseason by any means. But the good process, bad results.
So, the quarterback can be a cure-all to all issues if he's playing at an elite level and kind of grows into this position. That we thought he could be. I could say that because I thought he had a lot of talent, and I thought, man, if he can turn into the starting quarterback, a franchise quarterback, man, the sky's the limit on this offense. And I think he just got a little rattled. Had some failures, and he just and then he's got injured.
Yep.
And then he didn't play well.
Maybe there's some something that can happen. Maybe this injury came at the right time for Will Levis to sit on the sidelines and learn something.
I'm hoping.
If he's willing to learn. When we come back, we'll talk more about the Tennessee Titans and. We'll also talk some University of Tennessee Volunteers. Maybe a little Tandre Sweat talk. I got something up my butt about Tandre Sweat.
Where's he been?
Discourse.
Where's he been?
He had 2 quarterback pressures last week.
Okay, I have to make sure it was a sighting.
Yeah, no. We'll talk all about that. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons on 104.5 The Zone.
Hey, folks, I've been talking about Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance for years because they're the leading experts in sports medicine and performance and the team physician for the NFL, college, and high school athletics across Tennessee. And TOA provides sports medicine coverage to more high school and college sports teams than any orthopedic group in the state of Tennessee. And they have 29 locations throughout the state and over 100 physicians throughout Middle and East Tennessee to take care of all your musculoskeletal needs. And TOA has 11 urgent care locations with walk-in availability 7 days a week. They offer direct access to sports medicine and performance, physical therapy, and nutrition. Personalized rehabilitation plans to enhance mobility, reduce pain, and improve overall physical function for patients recovering from injuries or surgeries. And TOA also offers, sports performance training, a specialized program designed to enhance athletic performance and provide tailored training solutions for athletes at all levels. So please check out their services at TOA.com. That's TOA.com.
I love living in Middle Tennessee. We've got great restaurants, entertainment, sports, and one of the nation's top Ford dealers right here in our backyard. Two Rivers Ford. Remember that name. Two Rivers has been a staple in our community since 1983. They're locally owned. They have a non-commissioned sales team, and they sell below MSRP. They've been doing business with integrity for decades. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Stores. We'll take your calls, 615-737-1045. And Blaine, I kind of have a question for you. Listen, the previous
It's
last
a question
year,
you think up when you're in the shower and everything.
yeah, sometimes. I mean, I have an unhealthy obsession with what we're going to talk about on this football show.
Even when you're asleep,
when I'm sleeping, I'll wake up and I'll write stuff down. You know, so I can get back to sleep. I have like a little journal next to the bed, and I'll write something down, or I'll write it in my phone, because I'm like, if I don't, I won't be able to go back to sleep because your prefrontal cortex is just going crazy. And then, or if I do go back to sleep, I forget what I was going to say. So, the last year's mess of a power structure, it was in the spirit of collaboration, and Amy Adams Strunk was the tiebreaker, and they either had to agree, or if they disagreed, then Amy would choose, was a mess. Now they've created this new power structure with titles, obviously, President of Football Operations, Chad Brinker, which his only overlap with the football side of things, based on their press release, is the analytics side. So basically, he's involved in the draft, he's involved in game planning, all that stuff, or his department is that he oversees. And then the rest of the stuff's like security, travel, some of the sports medicine stuff is on his side as well, and stuff like that. Videos, the social media stuff, all that stuff falls under his side of things. And Rand obviously has supposedly has final say and all that kind of stuff on the roster, according to the power structure laid out. But all these moves have been made, or two moves have been made. And last year, when Kevin Byard was traded, Chad Brinker did not go out and Rand Carthon did not go out and do a press conference. He let Mike Vrabel handle it, because he said, I'm letting the football people handle the football stuff. I'm handling stuff, over here and all that kind of stuff. And Mike Vrabel is rumored, allegedly, to be the guy that was willing to trade away Kevin Byard. That's got conflicting reports, all that stuff. It really doesn't matter. But Rand Carthon did not come out and speak after trading away one of the most prominent players in this NFL team's history.
Yeah. No doubt.
Forever. So I say that because then Rand Carthon said he called himself out. He said, I need to be more available. I need to be up in front of the media more when moves go down in the season. We haven't really heard from him in the season, and he hasn't done a press conference, but 2 trades just went down. Mm-hmm. Do you think Rand Carthon will, and do you think he should actually hold a press conference to talk about these 2 moves, or where he could be asked the tough questions? And this was posed in the chat because someone wanted Amy Adams Strunk to come out and talk.
No,
and like, what good is that? That's not really any good.
I don't think so.
But I'm going to take it a different direction.
Yeah, the GM or Brinker and whatever title or power he has, based off his title, seems like he's over even Rand, but they don't say that. But whenever trade deadline is over, I think they have to, whether they trade another player or not, but they need to speak on the players.
So instead of maybe doing multiple press conferences,
you
just do one when you're done.
At the end of the trade deadline. Okay. That way now that you're signaling you're done, and it's over. So you don't have to do multiple, because they may be actually still working on other ones. So now you're going to interrupt that to do a presser. No, just wait till the end. Just wait till it's over.
Yeah.
And then guess what? They may not want to do it then because they were like, well, that passed, 3 weeks ago, whatever.
And to be fair, lots of GMs don't really talk even after trades and the trade deadline and stuff. So it's not a new phenomenon, but I think people got spoiled with the way that John Robinson did things. But at the end of the day, I do think it's good in the midst of a losing season, in the midst of a few trades and maybe more to come, that the GM does get out and at least say something, or at least get asked questions by the media, at large, because I think there are valid questions and things that fans are wondering, fans want to know, and sometimes you got to answer those tough questions. And not that you have to answer to the fans, but really, the fans need to hear from their GM at some point after the trade deadline is passed. So I agree. I think they do.
What would be the question you think most fans or media would want to ask?
I think they would want to know the whole reasoning process, because I think there's a lot of, and they asked Brian Callahan some of these questions like, Brian Callahan, you traded away DeAndre Hopkins, and he's one of Will Levis's favorite targets, and then Brian Callahan's like, well, he's a grown man quarterback. This is what grown man quarterbacks have to deal with. Like, I mean, there's just the state of the NFL and all this kind of stuff. But I think you would like to hear, how, looking back, how do you feel about the process that you did? How do you reconcile reset with what you did to the fans? Like, I think stuff like that. I mean, I don't think that anybody has to say, why'd you trade, sign for Calvin Ridley or blah, 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 blah. But I do think there's a reflection that could be had, some answers that could be given that can maybe also give you insight. Is he the right guy? Because I think sometimes those words, those thought process, like with Brian Callahan, I'm very comfortable in saying that I think there's a good chance he's the guy because of the way he answers stuff, the detail he gives you, what he is saying in that kind of stuff. And we just don't hear from Rand Carthon enough to really have that kind of confidence. And I do have confidence in Rand Carthon, but I think that a lot of fans don't currently. So that's kind of where I'm at on that.
Yeah, and I think that's why I said at the end, because, to your point, I think that settles things down from a vocal point, not only from the media who is actually carrying the message for you, answering those tough questions, but then when they write, then settles the fans down, that are out there listening to radio stations and reading on X, or some people still maybe in the paper. So I think it's very valid that they should do that. I just feel like...
Well, you can't also say, we checked every box in the offseason, which he said, we checked every box. It was funny, I go into Anthony Robinson's office or someone's office, and we're looking at it and we're like, man, we checked every box in the offseason. Well, you didn't get a right tackle. You didn't get an edge rusher. I think and to me, that's a lot of the power of positivity. And I think that sometimes when the power of positivity is failing in the middle of the season, you need to come up and just kind of talk about it, talk it out, give us some faith that you recognize that maybe the process wasn't as good as I thought it was, and maybe some things have not planned out. But hey, guess what? We're pivoting. We're not beholden to what happened in the offseason. We'll talk more about that part when we come back after the break for hour number 2. This is Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone. Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Door, 615-737-1045. If you want to get in on the conversation coming up in the next segment, we'll be talking to Ben McKee of GoVols247.com. We're going to talk to him about the Tennessee-Alabama game, the growth of Nico, and what's next and what's ahead for the University of Tennessee Volunteers. But Blaine, I kind of want to continue our discussion about, the pivot that this team has kind of made in the middle of the season. And I think Brad Spielberger, who was formerly of PFF, but is now currently the Director of Football Administration for GC Sports Management, he quote tweeted the Seahawks trading for Ernest Jones with the Tennessee Titans. And he said, and this is a very, very smart guy. I mean, like one of the brightest football minds out there. He was also a legal intern for the Minnesota Vikings. He's a Vandy alum. Maybe we should have him on the show at some point.
I wonder if you know what year. Do you know?
I do not know.
I was going to say,
Vandy, Tulane. He contributed on overthecap.com. So this is a really smart dude.
Same way where my wife went.
There you go. Good on Tennessee for not buying into the sunk cost fallacy. It's tough to load up and then unload in a span of months, but they definitively determined if their rookie contract quarterback was a guy. And now they hit a mini reset, so he used the term reset, a mini reset to clear cash and get picks for the next one. So he's viewing all these moves as they tried to build around Will Levis. They saw that they got their answer, and now they're pivoting, which is a big word that this staff has used, the pivoting. And they're pivoting towards the draft. Because as we heard earlier from Chad Brinker, the successful teams build through the draft and supplement with free agency. And they tried to make sure that there were no excuses as to really what could go on with Will Levis. And someone else said people are going to dunk on Carthon, but I'm fine with it. We keep saying young quarterbacks need help to have a chance. Well, they got the help for him. It didn't work out, and the guys they can't sell off will be able to help the next quarterback. So Calvin Ridley, for example. He goes, exactly. You can argue that getting the definitive answer as quickly as possible as opposed to he's mediocre and they roll into 2025, still unclear what the answer is demonstrably worse.
Yep.
Plenty of GMs would dig deeper as opposed to admitting it didn't work and reversing course ASAP.
I completely agree. Yeah, you find out soon. That doesn't mean that you don't keep him out there to play, because I want to ask you this. I love all of that. Then he comes back and plays, let's just say halfway decent, but you still in purgatory, at least as far as what he is, and you want to move forward. So do you play him now for value to see if you can get some picks for him? That is in the offseason, by the way, or on draft day.
So Kenny Pickett got traded. Desmond Ridder got traded. Sam Howell got traded. Malik Willis got traded. A bunch of quarterbacks that have failed elsewhere have gotten traded for lower picks because they're getting traded to be backups and maybe developmental projects, right? So there is something there. But let me pose something to you, Blaine. Okay? Matt Stafford is on a Rams team that is kind of going nowhere right now. And the Rams team may be looking for a little bit of a reset themselves.
At the quarterback.
At the quarterback position, possibly in the position at the whole team, because they're about to trade Cooper Kupp, maybe, right? Like that's a guy that could be, on the table. We saw the rehabilitation they did with Baker Mayfield. Just this is the part of radio where I kind of dislike radio, but I kind of like it. What if the Tennessee Titans were to trade for Matt Stafford and he is your bridge quarterback while you get to 2026? Just throwing that out there. A little theory out there. A little something to make instead of like going to pay Sam Darnold for a year or two, maybe you just take on Matt Stafford, bring him over, let him run this offense, and
so you have to give up picks.
Maybe.
No, maybe his contract.
You guys think you got? Well, see, that's the thing is that they're getting a guy in Will Levis who their cap's going to come down, so they get the cap benefit. And usually, if you get the cap benefit, you don't have to trade away as much. And listen, maybe you have to trade away one of the 4th round picks. maybe a fourth and a fifth that you picked up. You have 8 draft picks. Just saying. I don't think you have to trade a first or a second or a third, which a third you don't have. But you got a couple of fourths, you got a couple of fifths, you got some sixths, some sevenths. Just saying.
I would be more interested in where is his health. He's not what he used to be, but he's still a real good quarterback as far as just on his talent. So I love the posed question. I just don't know if I want to go that. I would say he's in the last 3 years of his career and one hit away from probably being done, because there were questions about this before with his concussion issues, let alone I thought it was an injury to his shoulder or elbow or something going into the season, I think last year. So those are the things that would be a little concerning. And the fact maybe they know something we don't because they're trying to trade him, because last year there were rumors they were going to trade him somewhere else too. So those are all concerning notes for me for a quarterback. I know what we're getting for the bridge guy. But if I'm going to go bridge, I want to go somewhere where it has some upside. So I like the Sam Darnold, as everybody knows on this station. I liked Sam Darnold 2 years ago and everybody laughed at me. Yeah. So, and because I like his talent, he was just in tough situations, Jets and Panthers. It's hard to win there. Now put him in a good situation, see what he can do, and we've seen what happened with the 49ers and then now. So I would go still and free agent. Now you have to spend a little bit more money, or maybe less, because Stafford's coming with probably a $40 million tag.
No.
How much he make?
Okay,
35?
so he will be coming with a $27 million price tag next year for the team that trades for him.
Do you think Sam Darnold come cheaper? I think so.
Ooh, maybe. What did Baker Mayfield get? So that would be the question. I have to go back and look.
30 something.
Yeah. So. Maybe, maybe not. Depends on how the rest of Sam Darnold's season goes. But, 2 years, and then you can make it to 2026, and then you still have a quarterback because he's under contract till 2026. Then you can get maybe Nico. Maybe you can get Arch Manning. They can sit behind Matt Stafford in that final year of the contract. Just throwing it out there.
Wait, the same thing you can do with Sam Darnold.
Yeah, same thing, but it may be more expensive for Sam Darnold. You never know.
Yeah.
And you also have a lot of suitors, too. See, that's the other thing. There's probably going to be a lot of people in that Sam Darnold market.
Definitely will be now.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Maybe go Justin Fields could be a guy. I didn't see anything too terrible. He's better than Levis, but I'm just throwing it out there. Hypothesize. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't want people to think it's going to happen.
If we're going to throw out this idea. You just brought up Fields.
Okay.
And I mentioned, I think he was getting close when he was with the Bears of turning the corner as a passer.
I think he was getting close and acclimated to the Steelers.
That's right. And then, would you give up a fourth right now to take a risk on Fields right now? That way you're not competing against free agency when he's a free agent at the end of the season.
But you would still have to sign him, right?
Because you have 4 of them.
Yeah.
Now, if he does well, then you sign him. If you don't, you just lose the 4th round and he walks. I'm just throwing it out there. 5th, 4th, you have multiple 4ths, so it's not like you.
Do you think the market's going to be there for Fields, though?
I don't know.
That's the question.
See, that's why I asked Jordan DeJani yesterday is, did they start Russell Wilson because of the value of Fields is going up? Because not only would they have to give up a 6th round, they have to give up a 4th rounder.
That's true.
Back to the Bears. And so that tells you why they did it, because everything tells you Russell Wilson shouldn't have started going into the game. Now we know the results. It was the right decision. Tom looks great. But was he forced by the organization to sit Fields because of playing time and how much they would have to give back to the Bears?
Yeah.
See? And then we can win with Wilson, but we got to give up more with Fields. So
there you go.
How about let's sit up and let Wilson go?
I don't know. I'd have to think on that. So I'll think on that when we have Ben McKee on for GoVols247.com. He's coming up next. This has been Covered 2 with Blaine and Zach on 104.5 The Zone.
Hey, Tennessee, fall is here and in full swing. And Cool Ray's here to make sure your home is ready for all the fun and the fall. We've got some sizzling deals that will keep you comfortable and worry-free all season long. So ensure your family stays hydrated and healthy with free water quality testing. because nothing beats a refreshing drink of pure water on a nice fall day. And Cool Ray also offers a $149 main sewer line camera inspection. And right now, they also offer 15% off whole home dehumidifiers, as well as $500 off whole home generators. So let Cool Ray take care of your home so you can focus on making family memories. So call us today at 615-709-8699. That's 709-8699, and take advantage of these scorching hot deals. That's Cool Ray, your trusted partner for a very cool and comfortable Tennessee fall. As always, visit coolray.com.
Hello, I'm Ashley Northington, Chair of Moving Forward of Middle Tennessee. The upcoming transit referendum is a game changer for our economy, business leaders, and the entire community. A robust transit system is essential for a thriving economy. With 54 miles of high-capacity transit corridors and 86 miles of new sidewalks, this plan enhances Nashville's connectivity, making it easier for everyone to get where they need to go. This isn't just about transportation, it's about economic empowerment. For business leaders, reliable transit means a more productive workforce. Shorter commutes boost productivity and job satisfaction, helping businesses attract and retain top talent. Improved transit also drives sales and supports local economies by making it easier for customers to reach businesses. The benefits extend to the entire community, connecting people to essential services, education, and recreation. This creates a more inclusive city where everyone can access the resources they need to thrive. Supporting the Choose How You Move transit referendum is an investment in our future. This is about creating a city where businesses can flourish, residents can thrive, and the community enjoys a higher quality of life. Join me in backing this transformative opportunity. Let's build a Nashville where everyone has the opportunity to succeed and to prosper. Visit the link in the caption to learn more about the referendum, how it will support our community, and how you can get involved. Thank you.
What's happening? It's Ron Slade, known as Big Slade, all the things, man. Nashville, born and bred, right here on 3HL 1045 The Zone. Listen, man, you're thinking about advertising with us with digital, radio, whatever it may be, all of the above under the umbrella. Get with us. Let me do it. I promise you. I'll get it sold for you. You nobody welcome me. Look at the smile. Look at that. You see what I'm saying? 1045thezone.com/epic. Go to that. Get involved. Let's make a joint party. Let's do a lot of little things like let's hold hands, run down the street, celebrate. All this little stuff. You know what it is. Let's go.
What's up? Will Bowling here, 1045 The Zone, coming to you on Zone TV. Hey, 1045 The Zone has got a big sale going on, 1045thezone.com/epic. Whether it's radio, digital, we have got ad solutions that work for you. Harness the power of The Zone and Zone TV by getting involved. That's 1045thezone.com/epic. We got big deals going on right for you.
Hey, it's Zach Lyons.
Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here on 104.5 The Zone, powered by all Four Seasons Garage Doors, 615-737-1045. You want to get on the conversation. Ben McKee will be joining us here shortly, but I wanted to, before we get to Ben McKee and talk about University of Tennessee Volunteers, I wanted to talk to you, Blaine, or answer your question, because you were talking about Justin Fields. I don't know if I'd give up a fourth. Mm-hmm. But I do think Justin Fields is a lot better than what people are giving him credit for. We were talking during the break, and I was looking up I love my advanced metrics, love my efficiency stats. And the reason I bring up efficiency stats, because they're not the box score stats. They are the stats that actually Brian Callahan has talked about as like, we want to be an efficient passing offense. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, then you look at the efficiency stats. He was 15th in EPA per pass, so efficiency. Justin Fields, plus 0.110. I know that doesn't mean anything, but every pass he throws is expected to add that many points. Will Levis is negative 0.178.
Stop.
30th in the NFL by a wide margin.
Stabbing me in my ribs.
Only better than Deshaun Watson. So just want to throw that out there for all those that think, well, Justin Fields, can he even run this offense? I think he can run this offense. Now, is he an elite quarterback? No. Is he a quarterback that's a Super Bowl level quarterback? No. But if you're looking for a guy to get you by for a couple of years while you find the guy, you could do a lot worse than Justin Fields. And we're not going to do worse than Justin Fields because we're going to do better. We're going to go to Ben McKee of GoVols247.com. You can follow him on Twitter at BenMcKee14. And Ben, thanks for joining us. First off, how about our Memphis Grizzlies? I see that you're a Grizzlies fan. I am a Grizzlies fan. The Grizzlies are well on their way to an undefeated 82-0 season, correct?
No.
That's right. 82-0, hang the banner. I will say, though, going back to Justin Fields, leave him alone. I'm a Steelers fan as well. All right. Russ is going to cook the rest of this season, and then Justin's going to take over next year. And then Justin is going to cook. So y'all leave Justin Fields name out your mouth, okay? Mind your business. Y'all got Mason Rudolph. Y'all can go get Kenny Pickett. But yeah, I was pumped watching the Grizz last night. Fun to have John Morant back out on the court. And now I need Zach Edey to adjust to these NBA refs who will call him for fouls in the league.
Yeah, he fouled out pretty quick last night. It was pretty funny. But it was fun to have Memphis basketball back on my screen. But it was not fun to watch Alabama, my Crimson Tide, to lose to the University of Tennessee Volunteers. It hurt my soul, my heart, and my liver that night. But I will say, as an objective observer, the growth from Nico in that game really came to fruition. Now, whether that is going to be Nico the rest of the way or not, I just felt like when you're watching the game, you could see him growing right before your eyes.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. He was terrific in the second half and joked that the hit that he took when he was brought to the ground and the front of his face and head smacked the turf and had to come out for a play. He did come back in and he led Tennessee down the field and right into the red zone, but then made the decision to try and force the football into a place that it should not be forced and was picked off. I don't know. I'd like to know what was going through his mind there. Maybe he was trying to throw the football away out of the back of the end zone, and he got hit as he was getting rid of it, and maybe that's why it ended up being intercepted. Regardless, like you just have to take better control of the football, protect the football better than he did in that situation. But aside from that play, I thought he was terrific in the second half. Made several big-time throws. Obviously, everybody's talking about the throw to Dante Thornton down the sideline. Not only was that right on the money, but he delivered it while on the run, escaping the pocket. You saw him hit I thought the throw to Brazel was better, if I'm being honest. Like the throw to Dante was incredible, but the touch on the pass that he showed to Brazel for the touchdown and in a tighter window to deliver the football, just not a lot of margin for error, I thought was a phenomenal throw. And it goes to show that, Tennessee continues to say that they feel like they're just off and they feel like they're close to hitting those deep balls that Nico and the receivers have been missing. I think those throws that he made in the second half kind of proves them to be correct in that he obviously does have the arm talent. It's just maybe a matter of him seeing one go through the hoop as if he's a basketball shooter and maybe feeling more comfortable and kind of taking off from there. So, again, I thought he was terrific, like you mentioned, with the arm, but also the legs. I don't know that maybe they do now, but coming into the season, I don't know that they were aware of just how deadly his legs can be. And you saw that in the second half as well, helping lead Tennessee down the football field and setting them up in scoring position on multiple occasions. So feels like he's getting more comfortable. And if Tennessee is going to make the playoffs and make some noise in the playoffs, he's going to have to continue to play more like he did in the second half and not just play like he did in the second half, but build off of what he did in the second half. And if that was a nice stepping stone for him and he is more comfortable moving forward, then the ceiling for this football team, it certainly changes all of a sudden.
Is the incredibly silly accusation that the stadium is pumping in crowd noise the stupidest thing in the SEC this week?
I haven't listened to any Hugh Freeze press conferences. I'm sure he said something that is dumber. Lane's been quiet this season. So, yeah, I would say that's the silliest thing being talked about right now. Actually, the one thing sillier is this whole Ryan Williams painting his nails thing. Not that he is painting his nails, but him painting them orange after they lost. And I understand that he explained that it's his, I believe, little sister who did it. I don't care who did it. You should not allow anybody to paint your nails orange after you just lost to your biggest rival, and the fans are already as redneck mad as they can possibly be. So I would say that's a little bit sillier, but there's no doubt that the whole pumping in crowd noise thing is pretty ridiculous because it's not true. I mean, that's the gist of it. It's not true, which is what makes it so ridiculous to me.
I did not know of that story, so it's the first time I'm hearing about it right there.
I definitely saw that. Yeah, it was all out there. Yeah. He paints his nails. I didn't know it was his sister, though.
Yeah. Maybe do we know how old the little sister is by chance?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
I mean,
care.
that matters. That matters. If it's a 4-year-old, little sister or 5-year-old, you can't tell them no. I mean, come on.
I'm not saying don't paint them. I'm just saying don't paint them orange.
Well, it's Halloween. Is that why he painted them orange? Surely he didn't paint it that ugly UT color orange. Maybe it's an appropriate color orange, right?
It looked pretty close to Tennessee orange. You just in that situation, you got to have a little more awareness, especially for somebody who is as out there on TikTok and social media as he is, and he knows kind of what's been coming him and his teammates' way these last couple of weeks. They've been breathing on them pretty heavily.
What about the this comes from the F&M Bank chat on YouTube. What about Mizzou wearing shirts that said bowl eligible after beating Auburn? I forgot about that too.
Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous as well.
Really big ridiculous week for the SEC so far. We're on with Ben McKee of GoVols247.com.
Well, let's stay on the ridiculous. What about the change call at Texas after all the bottled waters and everything else thrown onto the field, the trash or whatever else was out there? To kind of take us through that. And what can they actually do? They're talking about banning the fans. How can you ban the fans? That was a lot of trash out there.
Right. Well, I thought the only trash that was thrown on the field took place in Knoxville. I didn't know that trash was thrown onto the field elsewhere as well. Obviously, I say that sarcastically.
Yeah.
But no, I thought that was a pretty ridiculous, to stick with that theme, pretty ridiculous situation as well, that we're now going to try and review pass interference calls, and which is not allowed, but you find a way to do it anyways, and then it gets overturned, and it just sets a bad precedent. And I don't at all blame Kirby for his comments immediately after the game. I thought his comments were a little ridiculous about the trash being thrown on the field. Not saying that it was okay for that to happen, but acting as if it is the end of the world when he has players on his team doing things far more dangerous throughout the course of the year in Athens than a fan throwing a water bottle or a can of beer onto the field. I thought that was a little ironic coming from Kirby. But in terms of the pass interference call and him saying that the refs were out to get him and trying to steal the game for them, I don't blame him for being that mad. I would have been that mad as well. That should not be something that it was almost like it was made up in thin air, and that just cannot be allowed to happen in this sport or any sport where it feels like the rules are being made up as you go. If you want to go back and I don't know, I haven't put a ton of thought into it, but I don't know that I'd have the biggest issue if we wanted to start challenging interference calls, because they can be egregious at times, whether it's a no call or whether it is called and it shouldn't be called. I don't know that I'd have a big issue with that because it can really determine the outcome of football games at times. But to me, the ridiculousness of that situation was just that it felt like they were making up rules on the fly, and that should never happen in any sport, and I don't at all blame Kirby for being as mad as he was.
No doubt about it. Man, I have to give an applause. You know, safeties are valuable players. And Will Brooks, oh, my gosh, that shoestring tackle, let alone the closeout INT there, man, with the 8 tackles, man. That was phenomenal performance, not only by him, but actually talk a little bit about the defense and what they've done this year. You know, you look at some of their metrics and some of their numbers, you know, they're 6th in the red zone, 4th in scoring defense, you know, 2nd and 3rd down defense, 5th and 4th down defense. I mean, man, they wouldn't be in this position. And if the offense plays like they played in the second half, I think not only they're going to be in the playoffs, but they are going to be contending for a championship if this offense can show any consistency like they did in the second half versus Alabama.
Absolutely. You know what wins championships?
Yes,
Defense.
That's right. Defense. And they don't talk about us anymore, man. You know, we just, you know, just
well, if it makes you feel any better, as a Steelers fan, I have one jersey, and it is a Troy Polamalu jersey.
Oh, I love the hair.
He was my favorite player, him and the bus. So, yes, it's a championship level defense. If they continue to play the way that they are, then they are going to have a shot at winning the championship. Even with the offense, if it continues to sputter, they're still going to at least have a chance because of how the defense is playing. And there's obviously been a lot of talk about the defensive front, and rightfully so. Right. But I think the secondary has really tied up that defense and brought it together as one. It was much maligned the last several years, a lot of criticism for Willie Martinez, and he has that secondary playing great football right now. Ricky Gibson III playing great. Jermon McCoy, I mean, I think he's the best corner in the SEC. I haven't sat down and tried to list them out, but I have a hard time envisioning that you're going to take a corner over Jermon McCoy. He's on his way to being a very wealthy draft pick here in a couple of years. Tennessee will be happy to have him back next year. But that cornerback duo is phenomenal. And not to be super superlative, but I mean, I think they may have the best cornerback duo in the SEC, and it's paying dividends. And I mean, you pair, I mean, just the receivers of the opponent not being able to get open with the quarterback not having a lot of time to throw the football because of that defensive front, and that's a nightmare for opposing offenses. And speaking of the safeties, they're getting strong safety play as well. Will Brooks was phenomenal in that football game the other night. You detailed it. Yeah, right there in Vestavia Hills, the Birmingham area. He does come from an Auburn family, so I'm sure that moment was even sweeter for him, despite being neighbors with Tuscaloosa. But he was phenomenal. He obviously had the interception. You mentioned the shoelace tackle that he had that saved a long Jalen Milroe touchdown. But there were other plays within that game which were phenomenal, and he probably prevented points as well. So Jacoby Thomas, the mid-state native there, transfer over from MTSU. I think he needs to be on the field more.
I do.
He just makes plays when he's in the game and really flies around, has great athleticism. Christian Charles has been playing better football of late. I think there's another step for Turntine to take as well. Boo Carter at that nickel position against Florida played a great game, was SEC Freshman of the Week as a result of that. So You pair that defensive front with that secondary, and it's a nightmare for opposing coordinators. I do think the linebackers need to continue to come along, especially after the loss of Keenan Peely. That's devastating for them, because now they have a lot of youth and inexperience, and that youth and inexperience needs to grow up in a hurry. Because I promise you, although it may not be fun to go up against the defensive front or the secondary, offensive coordinators are going to try and draw things up to attack the middle of the field, which we have seen them do this year and have some success doing so. And that's going to be the area of this defense that opposing offenses try to attack.
One quick question last for me, and that is, who are your 4 teams that makes the SEC playoff? Because I'm worried about cannibalization, but I don't know if the SEC really can do that to themselves, but you just never know.
My 4 teams right now would be Georgia, Texas, Tennessee. Who is the 4th best team? I guess you'd have to say Texas A&M right now. Maybe A&M and Texas eliminate.
Well, Texas A&M and LSU play this weekend, right?
Yeah, that's another elimination game. So I guess I'd probably take the winner of that game as my 4th team. What if Vandy beats Texas this weekend?
Oh, no. Shut the front door.
I don't think that's going to happen. But Vandy's having a great season, and that was more of a tip of the hat to Vandy. But I'd take Tennessee, Georgia, and Texas for sure right now, and then I would probably take the winner of this weekend's game between LSU and A&M.
That just sounds weird, their partner in crime over there, Zach. Just to not hear Bama in there. How much does that hurt your soul that you don't hear Bama?
It hurts a little bit. I mean,
just a little?
A little. I mean, like, I expected them to at least get in the college football playoffs. I didn't expect an undefeated season. I didn't expect a one-loss season, but I at least expect them making the playoffs. But it's going to be, they have a lot to prove. And I have to say the product on the field right now does not scream these last few weeks college football playoff worthy. So I'm very rare, and I am an objective Alabama fan.
Would you pay Nick Saban double what he was making? So let's just say he was making 10. Would you pay him $20 million just to come back?
No, I would. I would.
I don't think the fans agree.
Unless he's coming back for a couple of years. If it's just for 1 year.
There's some terms to it.
Yeah, there's for 1 year, maybe not. Ben, what have you heard from the recruits about the environment from that third Saturday in October game?
They piped in music. No, just kidding.
Well, that's what Alabama would certainly tell you. But no, a lot of great things. Obviously, just the common theme being that's the greatest environment I've ever seen. There were commits for Tennessee that were in town that were here the week prior for Florida, and were saying, I didn't think it was possible for the environment to be better than the Florida game environment, and it managed to be better. I mean, that's college football at its best, right? Like, I'm not saying that Tennessee is the only place that can put on that type of atmosphere. There are certainly others as well that are capable of replicating what Tennessee did on Saturday night, but nobody's doing it better than what Tennessee did on Saturday night, and that certainly rubs off on the recruits, and it stands out in a major way. And Tennessee's picked up 2026 commitments in the wake of that, and they were already in good position for those players, but it certainly helps solidify a decision. And you had other targets on campus. You had a former Clemson commit on campus. You had, at the time, a Mississippi State commit who has backed off, and now that seems down to Vandy and Tennessee. He was in town. So just a lot of talk about how that's the best recruiting visit they've been on, in the sense of the environment that they have experienced, that is the best environment that they've experienced on visits. And it was more than just football as well. I mean, basketball recruits, baseball recruits, Tony Vitello and Rick Barnes and the other coaches on campus are very thankful for that atmosphere as well, because it helped with their recruits along with the football recruits. So that was the common theme, was that environment was the best that a lot of those recruits, if not all of them, have seen while being recruited and while taking visits.
Well, that sounds like awesome news for University of Tennessee fans, to have that environment and have the game go your way all in one fell swoop. We appreciate it, Ben. Look forward to talking more about the Memphis Grizzlies as they go on the unprecedented 82-0 win streak in the NBA this year. Enjoy, I guess, your Saturday off pretty much. You don't have to watch University of Tennessee.
Well, I'll still be working. Baseball will actually be in your neck of the woods tomorrow night, playing in an exhibition at the Sound Stadium, and basketball's got an exhibition against Indiana on Sunday. So work never stops around here with what Tennessee's doing in football, basketball, and baseball.
Well, there you go. Ben McKee of GoVols247.com. When we come back, we're going to put Tandre Sweat's rookie season in some context. Here on Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons on 104.5 The Zone.
Hey guys, this is Blaine for Edge Peptide Therapy. And listen, I've been hearing about peptides and peptide therapy now for a few months and was curious. So I finally went to Edge Peptide Therapy to find out more. And they did a full blood panel that showed where my body had some small deficiencies. And then they came back up with a tailor-made plan to address those areas with peptides. Since I've started my peptide therapy, I have noticed that I have a lot of energy, and of course, focus. And this month, Edge is offering a special on their recovery peptides. And recovery peptides are great for healing post-injury or surgery. You recover quicker from your workouts. Joint pain, aches and pains, arthritic pain, and elbow, knee, overall inflammation from old and new sports injuries. Recovery peptides help with all of this. So if you're looking for an alternative to surgery, consider talking to Edge first. And this month, Edge is offering $150 off your first peptide package for new clients. So why not get started now? So go to edgepeptide.com. Yes, that's edgepeptide.com. Or you can just give them a call at 615-724-1878. That's 724-1878.
Final segment here on Cover 2, 104.5 The Zone. Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons here with you. 615-737-1045. Last chance to get in on phone calls. We haven't really had any phone calls today, or we haven't had really time to get to them. So this is your time. Come in, talk Tennessee Titans. And, of course, the F&M Bank chat has been lively. There's this guy in the F&M Bank chat on YouTube, and you can also be on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook Live, Bradford S., who every time, the only time he comments is when Ben McKee is on. And it's so weird. And he always calls out Ben McKee's takes or opinions, if you will. But I just always find that so weird. Like, he complains the only time he talks and interacts is when Ben McKee's on. Is he only tuning in for Ben McKee? Does he have a weird obsession with Ben McKee? Just, I'm always lurking. I'm always lurking in this chat, and it's coming from a place of love that I just tease you guys sometimes, but it's always lurking.
Love? Is that the love you're giving a signal?
Blaine, a couple of people have started asking questions, started talking about Tandre Sweat's performance so far as a rookie. Now, I'm a big Tandre Sweat supporter and everything, but a lot of people are like, where is the pass rush? Where are the sacks? Where are the quarterback hits? Now, he has 6 pressures on the year, but they're all quarterback hurries. But where is that stuff? He was taken over number 38. Why is he not doing anything with his opportunity? And I just want to put some stuff in perspective about Tandre Sweat. I got the stats for Dexter Lawrence, Vita Vea, Chris Jones right in front of me. Okay? Vita Vea, yeah, as rookies. Oh, so I'm getting rookies, getting what they did. These are guys that are all at the top of their game. They're all considered some of the best at the defensive line, defensive tackle position. I think we'd all agree. And I did not get Quinnen Williams in here. I probably should have, now that I think about it. But Dexter Lawrence, Vita Vea, Chris Jones. Dexter Lawrence as a rookie, 2.5 sacks. Vita Vea as a rookie, 3 sacks. Chris Jones as a rookie, also drafted in the second round. Those other 2 drafted in the first round, 2 sacks. Chris Jones, quarterback hits, right? That's another one that people have been talking about with Tandre Sweat. Chris Jones had 10 over his first rookie season. Vita Vea had 4 over his first season as a rookie, and Dexter Lawrence had 9. Still a lot of games to play, but let's slow down on calling this pick either a bust or a slow start or anything and not worth the 38th overall pick, because there's a lot of seasons to play. And as the data shows, it's really hard as a defensive tackle to go up the middle. It's not a historically sack-friendly position anyway. But it takes a little bit for these guys to get acclimated, because they're more often than not heavier guys still getting into football shape. So I just want to throw that out there, that maybe we don't try to write the book and finish the book on Tandre Sweat through the first 6 games yet.
Well, I think, just serious. How about this? Put Sweat's numbers versus Big Jeff. And I know Big Jeff missed a game. We can't use his rookie year because he missed 6 games. He had a ACL injury.
But he still has played at least 6 games, right? The first 6 games of his that rookie season.
Right, yeah. We could look at the last 6 games that he played his rookie year. And then that'll be in comparison to really someone who with the same organization, let alone those players you mentioned. So I thought those were great comparisons. I still think he's playing solid. You got to remember now, these guys who are young players that are talented, they're not going to be able to impact every game. You're going to see some inconsistencies, but we need to see flashes. We need to see flashes of dominance, especially a guy of his ilk and his athleticism.
1 QB hit, one sack for Jeffrey Simmons through the first 6 games of his rookie career.
Right. And then where the Sweats?
0 and 0 in those 2 categories.
Okay. So we still
still are in the same ballpark, right?
But we also saw in a game, I think it was the Dolphins game, of his dominance, even though he didn't create a sack. I thought that game there kind of showed you a little bit about what's to come. I saw dominance without Big Jeff actually on the other side of him.
Yeah.
Too, by the way. I thought that was a heck of a performance. And by the way, they didn't have the rotation that they needed to make sure he got some rest. So I think if you just continue to watch how he develops over this season, we'll see by the end of the season that he can be a pretty consistent player. You're still learning when you're a rookie player what the NFL is about. And coming into that second season, just like any other position, we always talk about the quarterback in his second season. Everybody else is kind of same situation, especially the high-level picks, because then they figure out what they need to do to be effective players in this league, and then what they need to do in the offseason to work on those things coming back. I think he's a very promising young player, and I think he's going to be somebody that can be potentially special, maybe a little more consistently than we've seen in his rookie year. But what I've seen right now, there's nowhere near a bust. That's just not even in my vocabulary as far as watching him play this season.
And it's not that he's.
I think people who are just looking at stats, then that's not going to take you to where he's impacting the game. And this is where some guys start being selfish when you're losing too. Now your job is to take on two blockers so the linebacker can make the play, right? Well, one, if you don't go in your gap and you go in another gap because you think you can win against that one guy, beat both guys, then all of a sudden you don't make the play. Now you create a big hole. And then you actually blocked your linebacker because you got in his gap. So that's what really happens in a game when you start playing selfish. So I don't think he does that. I think he takes on two blockers, and I think he's done his job.
Yeah.
There's no issue there with me.
Yeah, that's just how I view it. I think that when you look at Tandre Sweat, a lot of what, and this kind of goes, it's kind of like talking about linebackers too, right? Mm-hmm. Like when you're at practice, it's really hard to focus in on the linebackers because they're kind of lost in the shuffle in the middle. And really, Tandre Sweat gets kind of lost in the shuffle because you're not really looking at those plays unless it's a run play or they're in the backfield. You're not seeing everything else that they may be doing or may be taking on to free up other guys. I just think that really going ahead and saying that Tandre Sweat was not worth the 38th overall pick is just kind of silly. And I'm just, wanted to provide some context for guys that were drafted higher than Tandre Sweat and what they did their rookie year. Mm-hmm. Tomorrow, we'll be previewing, obviously, the Tennessee Titans going to the Detroit Lions. We'll also talk a little bit more about University of Tennessee. We'll talk about Vandy versus Texas. Mm-hmm. This has been Cover 2 with Blaine Bishop and Zach Lyons. 3HL's up next. And in the meantime.
And in between time.
Peace.